Hello everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video and welcome to my August wrap up. So in the month of August, I read 20 books, but of those 20, I DNF'd 3 of them, but I had a lot of 5-star reads in August, so it kind of evens out, you know? So yeah, without further ado, let's get into all of the books that I read in August. So I started off the month with an absolute banger. I read The Long Way Home, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. This is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Park's universe. It's the last book in the series that is out, and this book broke me. It broke my heart. I have a full spoilery reading vlog up of this book, of the entire series. So if you're interested in seeing me absolutely cry over this book, you can go watch that, but obviously don't watch it if you don't want spoilers because I go in depth into spoilers. But yeah, this is going to make my top books of 2022 for sure. I absolutely loved this. It's amazing. I don't want to say too much about it since it is the 3rd book, so I don't want to talk any spoilers at all. It is a very emotional romance story following Magnolia Parks and her love of her life, BJ Valentine. I forgot I'm even wearing my Magnolia sweatshirt. I just love it so much. But yeah, Magnolia and BJ have this very like tumultuous relationship where they are constantly warring between how much they love each other and then this thing that happened that really broke them apart, and it's sensational. It's amazing. Jessa's writing is some of my favorite writing that I've ever read it before, and I just love it. I love it so much. I can't sing this book's praises enough. It is incredible. The next book that I read was Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but basically this is like the first vampire book. It's the book that inspired Dracula. It's very short. I think it was like around 150 pages or so, but I listened to the audio and it was great. I really enjoyed my experience reading that. It might be one of my favorite classics that I've ever read. It was very like eerie and spooky. It was not like scary or anything, but like very eerie, and one of those situations where like you kind of know what's happening because we've all heard of Carmilla and we know that it's like the story that inspired Dracula, but the main character has no idea what's going on, and so we're like watching all this play out. And yeah, I just really liked this one. I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was Wild is the Witch by Rachel Griffin. I read The Nature of Witches by this author last year and I really liked it. I really liked all of the like witchy vibes and all of like the nature aspect. Like The Nature of Witches deals a lot with like climate change and the weather, and this one the magic is a little bit different, but the main witch in this book is like connected to animals, and so she works at like a wildlife refuge, and I really liked this one. I think I liked this one more than I liked The Nature of Witches. It's YA, so I'm not a big YA reader very much, but I still really liked this one and I thought it was really cute, and I just loved the atmosphere and the setting. I really liked the writing, and I gave this one 4 stars. If you read and liked The Nature of Witches, I would recommend this one. Even if you thought that The Nature of Witches was like just okay, I think this one is better, so I think you should pick this one up too. The next book I read was Orange Volume 1, so it was like the big thick volume. I gave it back to the library, so I don't have my copy of it, and that was my first manga that I ever read, so it was quite the experience to read it kind of backwards, like read it from the back to the front and read from right to left, which I've never done before, so that was an adjustment to get used to, but I just did not get connected to this story at all. I know that so many people that I follow have given this 5 stars, they've cried from it, and I was like, I did not get the same thing out of it that you did. I was not connected at all. By the end of it, I was like, okay, like it just, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. It was just fine. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I don't think that I'm going to end up reading volume 2. Then I picked up Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. So my friend Cami is co-hosting a Twilight read-along, and I want to, you know, feel all the nostalgia for this. So I reread this. I did reread this a few years ago, I want to say, but this time through, it was so nostalgic, and just like remembering being in high school reading these books and how obsessed I was with Twilight, and yeah, I was so nostalgic. I can't describe this book in any other way other than nostalgic, because it was such a big part of my like reading and like my life as a teenager. Like I was so obsessed. So yeah, reread of this one, and I gave it 4 stars. It was a fun time. The next book that I read was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I really loved this one. This is a sapphic romance following Delilah Green, who is a photographer, and she gets hired to do her stepsister's wedding, and her stepsister have this kind of little bit of a love-hate relationship. Like, they want to love each other and get along, but they're always like jealous of one another and bickering throughout the whole thing. And they had like, they didn't get along as like children, as teenagers, so they've always had this like rift between them. And so Delilah goes back to photograph her stepsister's wedding, and her stepsister's best friend Claire is obviously there. She's one of the bridesmaids, and they kind of have like a little bit of a fling going on. They also didn't like hang out or like each other very much when they were younger, but now that they're older, they're kind of like over that like kind of petty stuff, and they get along really well, and it's just like a really cute sapphic romance. I absolutely loved this, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I picked up was a poetry collection, and it was Shine Your Icy Crown by Amanda Lovelace. This was the last Amanda Lovelace poetry collection that I had yet to read, I think. No, I haven't read the Persephone one, the Flower Crowns and Fearsome Things or something like that, but I found this at Goodwill for really cheap, and I was like, well, I haven't read this one yet, I might as well get it and read it. And I kind of find this to be a little bit preachy and kind of like repetitive of stuff that she's written in her other poetry collections. Some of the poems really hit and were really good, and some of them I'm like, okay, I didn't get that one, I don't like that one. So I ended up giving this 3 stars because it was just like an okay poetry collection. Then I finally read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. This was pitched as kind of Spirited Away vibes, like the Studio Ghibli movie, and I really liked that movie, so I was very curious about it. This was definitely interesting. I definitely understand where they got the Spirited Away vibes. This girl sacrifices herself in her brother's girlfriend's place so that he doesn't have to like lose the love of his life, and she gets sacrificed to the sea god every, what is it, 10 years maybe? Oh no, every year a maiden is thrown into the sea. Okay, so anyways, she gives herself up and goes to this other like spirit realm almost in order to appease the sea god, and then she's also trying to figure out like what she can do to please the sea god so that he doesn't like ruin the world basically. And it's just like her journey in that other realm, and it was very whimsical. I really liked the setting of it. I thought it was really fascinating, but the story just didn't really give a whole lot. I didn't feel overly connected to the characters, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Then I picked up the manga of Spy Family Volume 1 by Tatsuya Endo. Yeah, I got that. And I was like, I have it from the library, even though I didn't like orange. I was already like, oh, maybe manga's not for me. I was like, well, I already have this one from the library, and it's been recommended to me from several different people, so I'll give it a shot. And I ended up loving it. I thought it was hilarious. I'm definitely going to continue the series. I just needed to find the right manga, and this was it. I thought it was amazing. Absolutely loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. Now we're coming into my first DNF of the month, and that was my book of the month pick, When We Were Bright and Beautiful by Jillian Medoff. I got 153 pages into this, and there was just some weird vibes going on. I was just not really enjoying it. Basically it follows this really rich family, and the youngest brother is accused of rape, and it's this family like trying to like get him out of jail basically and like figure out what happened. And I don't know, I just was not here for it. And there was like one scene that really rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, I don't feel good about that. And so I just decided to DNF it. I wasn't really enjoying it up to that point anyways, so whatever. I DNF'd this one. Then I had a beta read, and I'm not really allowed to talk anything about it, but I did read that, and I did give it 5 stars. I just want that known that that's where I got the 20 books read from, because I read that beta read. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Then I finally picked up Death by Laura Thalassa. This is the 4th and final book in the Four Horsemen series, and I was kind of hesitant going into this one because I didn't really super enjoy books 2 and 3 in this series. They felt very repetitive of the first book, and so I was like, is this just going to be the same thing over and over? But this definitely had a few main differences that I really enjoyed. This is definitely my favorite couple of the series. I really liked Death and I really liked Lazarus, who is the main female character. She was my favorite of all of them, so I did end up really enjoying this one. It was a good finale. It did feel a little rushed at the end, but I did end up liking it, so I gave it 4 stars. Then I did my reread of Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas for my Sarah J Maas read-along with Christina. Christina is in a bit of a reading slump and not in a fantasy mood, and so she was not able to do the live show with me this time around, but I didn't want to keep rescheduling. So Rachel from Raven-Haired Reader joined me for that live show, so you can watch that. I'll try to remember to leave it linked down below, but this is the finale to my favorite series of all time. Throne of Glass is my favorite series of all time, and this finale just, it has a special place in my heart. It's really hard to say goodbye to these characters. Literally finishing this book made me want to immediately start the Assassin's Blade again and start rereading the series, because I know that I miss these characters and miss being in this world, and this journey is just so intense and so much happens and you get so invested and so connected, and it's just really hard to say goodbye and let it go. So I will definitely be doing a reread of this series again very soon, probably whenever we finish the Sarah J Maas read along. I'm just gonna start it all over again and just repeat the cycle of reading every Sarah J Maas book ever until the day I die. Obviously a 5 stars. Now I have my next DNF, which I'm really sad about this one, but it's Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I got like really far into this too. I was like almost 200 pages into this, so like over halfway, and I don't even know what to say about this. I don't care. Like nothing really happens in my opinion, and the couple, like, they have 3 books and they're together, and like I swear to God, in the first 100 pages. Yeah, so they get together very, very soon, and it's like I really just need that like build up in order to root for the characters to be together. I don't know if the story is supposed to just follow basically their struggle with addiction for those 3 books or whatever, but I was not expecting them to get together that early in the book because they have 3 books. So yeah, I just lost interest entirely, and I was like, I'm not gonna force myself to do this. There's no way that I'm gonna get through those 3 books. I do want to read the Calloway Sisters series. I really want to read Kiss the Sky, and I know that people say like you should read these 3 books before so you get the backstory on those characters. But anyway, DNF. Then I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, and this book was the saving grace of my 24-hour romance readathon. So I started off with a DNF, and then I have another DNF. So it was 2 DNFs in 24 hours. It was a rough time, but I absolutely loved this one. I thought this was so cute. The main character has Asperger's, and so she's autistic. She's on the autism spectrum, and she really wants to get good at like sex and relationships. She's very analytical about things, so she hires a male escort to teach her these things, and then they start to kind of develop this really cute friendship and relationship from that. And I just really loved this. I thought it was so sweet and wholesome, and I gave this one 4 stars. Then, like I said, I had another DNF in that 24-hour period, and that was Misconduct by Penelope Douglas. I have loved all of Penelope Douglas's books except this one. Like, I don't think I've rated any of their books less than 4 stars. Yeah, no, they've all gotten 4 stars or higher, and this was a DNF, so that was so disappointing. It really bothered me that there was a non-consensual sex scene in this. Like, I think it was supposed to be like kind of dubious because you're in the female main character's point of view, and so you're like able to see like that she does kind of want it, but she says please stop 3 times and the guy doesn't stop, and like we're in her head so we know what she's thinking, but he's not, and so he's hearing please stop and choosing not to, and that's just, I can't continue reading that. Like, that is not for me. That's so gross. I don't like that at all. So DNF'd it. I didn't even really connect to the characters very much. Like, the main character, Easton, like, she was fine, but I didn't like the guy at all. Throughout the first 100 pages, I was like, he's gross. So, and then I got to that scene and I was like, yeah, I'm just done. Then the final book that I picked up for that 24-hour readathon was Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. This is a second chance romance. So the main character has been cheated on and has like a lot of kind of trauma from being cheated on, her dad cheating on her mom, and so she's like very untrustworthy. And when she's in college, she thinks that her college boyfriend is cheating on her, and in order to like beat him to the punch, she goes and cheats on him with his like academic rival, and it really like messes him up. And it turns out he was never actually cheating on her, she just assumed that. And so they break up. 5 years later, their jobs end up bringing them back together, and they have to work together, and so it rekindles some of those feelings. And this was just fine. I didn't really care about the main character. She was kind of annoying, and honestly, like, I liked the guy and I was rooting for him, and I think he deserved better than the main character. Like, I think he deserved better out of all of this. So that's kind of difficult when you're supposed to be rooting for the couple, when I'm like, Ben, honey, you can do better. But yeah, there's a lot of cheating in this book. Everybody in this book, I swear to God, everybody in this book has either been cheated on or is a cheater. So if that bothers you, don't pick this up. It was like really smacking you in the face with cheating. So 3 stars. The next book that I picked up in August was The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. This is another second chance romance set at a beach house, and it's got the dual timeline aspect where you see the couple together like as they're growing up together, and then you see them as adults in present time. And I really love that when books do that, like when you can see the past and see the present, versus like something like Fool Me Once where you don't get to see them at all when they were in love the first time, because I just feel it lacks depth then, because you're just like, oh, they already love each other. So I really like seeing them grow up together and then also see them as adults. Really loved the setting of this. The beach house setting is really fun. Basically what happens is these two grow up knowing each other, and something happens when they're 19 or 18 or something like that that like rips their families apart basically. And 5 years later, the main girl, Violet, is coming to sell that beach house that their family shared, and the main guy, Will, is already there, and he's like, no, we can't sell it, it has so many memories, it's like our favorite place on earth. And she's like, well, not anymore. And so you're trying to find out what happened that broke their families apart, and like why it's not like their happy place anymore. And then at the same time, Will is trying to convince Violet that it is still a happy place, they want to keep it, and that they should still be together. So this was a really fun one to read like during summer. So I would say if you're gonna read this one, maybe save it till next summer, because it definitely delivers like the summer beachy vibes. But there were a few things in here that I was like, the main character just like overreacted in my opinion. I was like, that's not even that big of a deal. Some things she was justified in, but some things I was like, really? That's what you're gonna choose to be upset about? And then some of the writing, some of the dialogue, I was like, do people even actually talk like that? I don't even know if that's a real thing. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. I did really enjoy it, but there were a couple little things that I was like, not for me. The next book that I picked up was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I thought that I was gonna love this. It's a emotional love story about this main character, I don't even remember her name now, Bree, who goes to this small town. She's got a lot of trauma in her past, and she's just trying to like get away. And she goes to this small town, and she has like a run-in with this guy Archer, who doesn't speak, and he's kind of a recluse. Nobody really talks to him at all because he can't talk back, and they don't even like try to get to know him or like see if he can communicate. And there's so much going on in this small town, and Bree ends up finding out that he can sign, and her dad was deaf, so she knows how to sign, so that's how they communicate. And they develop this, I want to say friendship, but it's very much insta love. Like they hang out. I mean, she like talks to him maybe 3 times and is like, I'm in love with him. So if that's not insta love, I just wish there was a little bit more like tension and buildup between them, because they definitely like fall in love very, very early on in the book. And then the rest of the book is just them dealing with like figuring out how to have this relationship and all this stuff that's going on in their town and what happened to Archer when he was a kid and why he can't talk, which all that stuff is fine. But when there's no like tension in the relationship, I get very bored, and I was just kind of bored with this. So I didn't get the hype on this one. I didn't really like feel connected to them very much at all. Like I did like Archer, but like, I don't know, I just didn't get the hype. So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. And then the last book that I read in August was My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I've read several books from Tessa Bailey, and some of them I've really loved, some of them I found very average, and this fell into the very average category. It's a short book. It's less than 300 pages. It follows this girl who goes on vacation, and she finds a dead body, and she wants to kind of help with the investigation, and the bounty hunter that the family hired to find the killer asks her some questions, and so she's like tagging along with him, and he's like very grumpy, she's very sunshine, but it's another like kind of insta-love situation, like not as insta-love as Archer's Voice was, but they definitely start developing feelings for each other a little too soon for my taste. Like I don't mind insta-love if they have really good chemistry, and they had chemistry but not like a lot, I don't know. And then the mystery aspect of it was very like a back burner mystery. Like I know this is like a mystery romance, like the romance is the heavy, like big in your face topic of this book, but didn't really care about the mystery at all. I don't know, this was just a perfectly average book. I don't think it's as horrible as some people are saying, but it's definitely not 5 stars, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. So here are all of the books that I read in August. It's quite the stack. Again, I had a really good reading month. I got a lot of 5-star reads, some books that I didn't really, feel a whole lot towards, just like average 3-star books, and then a couple DNFs that I'm kind of disappointed in, but overall, not a bad reading month at all. So if you made it to the end of this video, leave the sun emoji, since that was the last summer month and I read a lot of very summer themed books in August. So let me know that you made it to the end of this video by leaving the sun emoji down below. And I will also leave all of my socials linked down below as well if you want to follow me on any of those. Don't forget to click like and subscribe while you're down there to help support me and my channel. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.